Hi everyone from New Zealand. I'm an ASHA-certified audiologist and currently NZ-certified audiologist as well. And I am the author of Living with Tinnitus book. Today we will talk about what is tinnitus, why we hate it, and what are some management strategies to manage tinnitus. Let's get started. So what is tinnitus is that tinnitus is a sound that is being produced in the brain without an external source. And the most common cause of tinnitus is the hearing loss. So some patients, when they come to our clinic, they say that they cannot hear well because of their tinnitus. But it is actually the other way around. It's actually their hearing loss causing them to have a tinnitus. So why do we experience tinnitus? Let's look at this example. So in here, this patient has hearing loss in the high-pitched sounds. They have normal hearing in the low-pitched sounds and mid-pitched sounds. And what happens, their brain says, oh, okay, so I do have neurons and hair cells that I'm using in low pitches. I do have hair cells and neurons that I'm using in mid pitches too. I do have hair cells and neurons in the high pitches, which I'm not able to use. So because there is a hearing loss, the brain doesn't want those neurons or those hair cells to die off, and it is creating its own stimulation, own phantom noise to be able to keep those neurons or hair cells alive. Which sounds great, right? Keeping those cells alive sounds great, but then why we hate our tinnitus so much? So when we think about this, from a very young age, we are taught that constant high-pitched sounds are actually alarms, like fire alarm, police siren, ambulance siren. All those are high-pitched constant sounds, and when we do hear those sounds, our brain says, oh, something must be wrong. It seems like there's a danger, and it goes into fight or flight mode. And the same thing happens within the tinnitus. So what happens when our brain hears that this phantom noise, there's another part of the brain that calls amygdala. And amygdala says that, oh, that's similar to fire alarm, that's similar to police siren, something must be wrong, there is a danger, let me go into fight or flight mode. And that is why we hate our tinnitus so much, because it is stimulating another part of our brain, which is amygdala. And amygdala is responsible from emotional responses. And I do call this as a tinnitus trap. So what happens, we do hear our tinnitus, and the brain says, oh, tinnitus is alarm sound alarm, and then we feel anxious because as a human being we tend to have anxiety towards sounds that are not familiar to us. And then what we do is that we resist to tinnitus because we hate it so much. It triggers the area of our brain that's called amygdala. And then once we resist the tinnitus, actually the perception of tinnitus becomes more and more noticeable. So how do we help our patients to help with tinnitus? So we are trying to break the cycle between the patient's tinnitus and that fight or flight response. And how do we do that? Actually, this whole calls habituation. How we do achieve is that we do use two ways. First, sound therapy, and second, sound therapy with hearing aids. So when we look at the sound therapy, what we are trying to do is that by listening those sound therapies, we are trying to mask the tinnitus. However, many patients misunderstand something, so they try to put the sound level of their sound therapy that they are listening to way above than their tinnitus, trying to mask out their tinnitus. However, the main goal is habituation. So we still want to hear our tinnitus in a low volume, to be able to get used to that sound. So the sound therapy, the level of sound therapy should be slightly below than our tinnitus level. There are different apps, sound therapy apps that you can use, like Resound Relief, Calm app, My Noise. There are many different apps that you can try in App Store. And the sound therapy is very individualized, so a sound that might be sounding relaxing and pleasing to someone may not be relaxing or pleasing to someone else. The most common sound therapies that we recommend are like pink noise, white noise, brown noise, blue noise, or nature sounds. These are experimented and scientifically proven that they help with tinnitus. But again, it's very individualized treatment, so I would highly recommend trying different sounds and find a sound that is relaxing and pleasing to you. And this is very important. If a sound is not like relaxing and pleasing to you, then it wouldn't help with our end goal, which is habituation. And another thing is that many people also do this wrong. They do use headphones or earphones, but we don't want to block out our ear canals because it can actually increase the perception of the tinnitus, because we actually close our ears, so that sound might be louder. So we want to keep our ears open. In that case, what I would recommend using either the speaker function of the phone, sound generators, tinnitus maskers, to help with that habituation to occur. And the second way that we help our patients is that hearing aids. And why hearing aids are actually more effective than sound therapy is that we do use hearing aids. They go behind ear and there are microphones which are open. So while you're listening to your sound therapy, you're able to hear the sounds coming around. And also, if the main concern, if the main reason of having tinnitus is a hearing loss, then when we provide sufficient volume in those missing frequencies, patients often say that they are able to manage their tinnitus because their brain says, oh, I don't need to go into fight or flight mode anymore because I started to hear these sounds again. So I don't have to go into that mode to create that, phantom noise. However, hearing aids are not a cure, and I'm trying to be very clear with my verbiage because we do remove hearing aids, right? When we go to sleep, we do remove them. However, most patients say that like when they wear all day long, usually their tinnitus reduce enough to allow them to sleep. So that is why we do find more benefit with the hearing aids, but definitely as a first step, if you experience tinnitus, I would highly recommend trying one of the free app options, sound therapy options, to see if they will help with your tinnitus. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video for more content about tinnitus and tinnitus management strategies.